music. It's Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday again, man. It's Wednesday again.
You know what's funny is I just realized in the intro, it says your name, Shane Polito, aka Professor P.
Yeah.
And everybody in the community knows you as Professor P, and no one really knows your name.
Right. It's funny. You came up with that when you were still on with Tony. Remember that? You came up with the Professor P? That was you.
Did I?
Yes. Remember, I got you a camshaft or something. It was like some secret stuff, and we got it. You're like, yeah, I got this from like this guy. We're gonna just call him Professor P.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, it is Wednesday night, and we got a whole big slew of people in here. We'll kick this off. Good evening from KS Skyhawk is here. 6th Street Garage, Dean Stevenson, Slant Daily Garage, Dan E. Boyd, Crystal Onyx, Mohawk 62, Bear Rose Garage. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Mostly Old Parts, Ron Ward. Howdy, folks. Fab Race Mod Repeat. Hello from the Speed Oasis HQ. Carrots and Cucumbers, the best name on the internet. And Mama M3 is here. So, and then SSR Performance. What's up? Mostly Old Parts, Ron Ward is saying currently nomming Chinese carry out beef and broccoli with pan-fried dumplings. Hey, I am jealous. Let's see. Val360 Jimmy is here. Dust Devil Garage. Man, we got a big slew of suckers in here. All right. Vintage Adventure Drives is here tonight. And Tanner was, I think, if we had an award that was like the guy that had the most fun at No Name Nationals, he probably would have won that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hot Rod Guy Garage. Russell is here. Let's see. Levi's Backyard Performance is ringing the bell. Man, I'm trying to catch up. There is a ton of folks in here. Junkyard D, Andrew Nelson. Good evening from Team Nivlac 57.
So
you guys are killing it. And I watched your Calvin's newest video with the Camaro with the Hellcat blower on the 6-liter LS. That was pretty cool.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that's it.
Ron's got the quote of the day. Nothing is lighter than a hole, but rust is really close.
Rust is just the predecessor to a hole.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's a pre-hole. So, all right. So Michael Schmidt is in the house. Let's see. I had as much fun at No Name Nationals 25 watching Tanner have fun as Tanner had fun. I agree. It was fun, and it was kind of contagious, honestly. He has just one of those personalities that like it just kind of grows on you, right? And then you become just as enthralled and happy as Tanner is. So I was glad to have met him.
Yeah, me too, man. I didn't know he played music. So I'm telling you, next year I'm bringing a cajon box. I'm going to bring like a little makeshift, just a little small drum set, and we're gonna have like after the food, we're gonna play some music. So I'm down for that.
Well, here's something interesting. Right below that one, it says Levi's Backyard Performance says Brooke knew Shane's name. She said she won 2 Dunkin' Donuts for it.
Yes,
at No Name Nationals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so she knew your real name. Let's see. Vintage Adventure Drive says I barely even ran down the strip. I just ran around getting into everything. Dude, I'm telling you, you went down the strip, up the strip, sideways, across the strip. Like you were having the most fun out of anybody there. I think so.
Yeah. So I just want to give guys a heads up. So I'm going to be going on Six Smokies on Saturday. So next Wednesday, there'll be no live on Wednesday. I'm going to try, but I just don't think it's going to happen just because I'm going to be on the road somewhere. But if it does happen, I'll let Dallas know. And if I have enough Wi-Fi, then we'll do it. But I'm going to be on Six Smokies, so it's probably not going to be happening.
Dude, I wouldn't even bet on it. I would just like skip it. And then, I mean, I personally like to do them, but I know how hard it is to try to do it on the road. It's like virtually impossible. So, all right. Well, I got a week off then. That means next week, Wednesday, it'll give me some more time to work on my junk.
Dust Devil saying that we should have a campfire session next year, and he'll bring the fire pit. Okay.
Let's see. Levi's Backyard Performance says Tanner's No Name Nationals video was pretty rad too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked how he had like the interesting points of interest.
Yes.
You know, I thought that was pretty neat. Let's see.
Here's a new one.
Technician Troy. Well, he's not a new one. He was at No Name Nationals a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, miss you all terribly. Life has kicked me in the teeth. Sadly, the Sonoma is on the chopping block. Hope to have another ride at some point. Well, hey, dude, if you like, if there's anything you need, just hit me up. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, hot rod guy. Yeah, exactly. So what we're doing is I'm leaving Saturday, and it's only a 3-hour drive from here. I was just telling Dallas before we went on that I'm going to stop at like every little point of interest that we can't check until 3. So we're going to stop at like the Alabama Music Museum and like just outside of like Muscle Shoals, and we're going to go through all that cool stuff. Like just yeah. So we're gonna try and just check out everything along the way and just make a whole day of it, just me and Cash. So yeah.
Well, it looks like everybody's popping in now. I got a few more people popping in. Lars and Mexican Spec. So LP94 and Mexican Spec are here. Max Wedge, Dick Dastardly just flew in the door. But it's all right, man. We're having a normal Wednesday night. And Shane's preparing to go on 6 Smokies. So, I mean, we haven't been doing a lot this week. I've been thrashing on my little 63 Buick, body stuff. And I don't know, nobody wants to see that crap on YouTube. I tried that like 2 years ago, paint and body stuff. No one watched it.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Right. And it's like, well, since I'm doing paint and body stuff, I'm just not going to do anything until the paint and body's like pretty much done. And, the paint's kind of laid down. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to paint the thing with what I have without having to strip the whole car.
Andrew Nelson saying something awesome because I've noticed this too with supercharged cars, but he says the Camaro passes were both slow in the 60. I had to go part throttle to control the pitch and the yaw. It was fun to feel the car change its behavior with the throttle. So
that means you got enough power then.
That means you're doing just fine.
Yeah. Let's see. Mostly Old Parts Ron Ward says, just have to mention Tanya had an amazing time bang shifting a 3 on the tree and probably had as much fun as Tanner at the event. I know I enjoyed watching both of them experience No Name Nationals. That's one thing that I tell, matter of fact, this year I told Ron Ward when he showed up, he got there like, let's see, maybe Thursday evening?
Yeah, Thursday
evening. And he and I were talking, and I said, I've been to a lot of events and I put on events, but literally No Name Nationals has its own ambiance. It's Agreed. like a, I don't know, its own personality, and no matter what year it is, it still has that same personality, regardless of who's in attendance and who's not, right? The things that came up and didn't come to fruition and things that just showed up out of nowhere and smacked you in the face. All of those things are different every year, but the event itself has the same flair, the same personality every year, and I enjoy being part of it.
And it's a little different too. It has the same flair, but slightly different because you see people who've been going there, their cars are getting faster, their junk staying together longer. You see new people going down the track for the first time, and it's just like watching Tanya go down. It was cool. Like I was working with them before No Name Nationals, getting the car running, and then me being able to help them, and then putting it back on the car and the thing was running. It was just like, dude, that was like perfect for me. That just made my whole weekend. Like I didn't even really need to go down the track at that point. I was just like, just watching her just bang those, 3 on the tree. Bonk, bonk. It was awesome.
Well, every year it's just kind of exciting. There's something new every year, right? Something new that just knocks my socks off.
And you know what this year was? Levi went down the track. He made a 5 and he drove it into the trailer. To me, that was.
He didn't even touch a tool.
No.
Right? He pretty much spent his whole time on the laptop tuning.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think this year for me, I would have to say the probably the big thing that was surprising was Jamie from Dead Dodge Garage Towing from Washington State
Right.
and showing up and running that garbage can CUDA. The other one was Junkyard D with the Valiant, that the whole top end thrash in the pits. I wish I would have been part of that. I didn't even know about it.
Me too. I wasn't sleeping that night. That night when it happened, I didn't sleep. That was Friday night. I was having a hard time going to bed. I was just laying there playing on my phone. I was like, man, I was
what the hell's all that noise out there? Would them guys shut up? I'm trying to not sleep here.
Man, yeah. I'm telling you, I would have been down there. If I'd have known that was going on, I would have been there. So, oh man, that would have been great. I would have loved it.
So KS Skyhawk says, need Buick 350 head for port and polish practice. Anybody in the KC area have one or know of one? It doesn't need to be any good. I'd drive a couple hours from KC Metro to pick it up. Ron in Topeka. I don't know anybody in Kansas area. I got one here you can have, but
yeah, I'm gonna say I got plenty of them you can have. You can pretty much go down to any machine shop where they do some of this stuff. They're going to have scrap heads there, and that's actually how I learned.
They got tons of scrap heads like that usually, and cranks. Cranks is a big one too, because people bring in a block and the block will be wasted, and then the crank's left over, right? But I found you can get a crank and a set of cylinder heads. If it's stock stuff, you can get it pretty easy at a machine shop. Yeah, especially if it's something that's like obscure, Buick stuff.
Yeah, and they usually charge you scrap price for it, so it's like $50 or something like that. So it's nothing. Levi is saying, Shane, I may be getting with you to spec my Triple Crown camshafts. Be ready for a doozy. Don't say may, say you will. You will get with me, and I'll get you hooked up, buddy. Yeah, don't worry about that. Just not this next week. I'm going to be like phone off, computer off. I'm just going to enjoy race car stuff with my race car friends, making race car noises. So I'm excited about that. Venture drives. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just looking to see what we had here. I've been attempting to thrash my Scamp, but motivation has been low. I'm hoping to drive it to an event on the 18th. I just need to rebuild the front end and swap out leaf springs. Dude, you're young. You shouldn't have any ambition problems, but I can empathize, because usually what happens is I thrash for like for like 2 weeks prior to No Name Nationals, and then just kind of wiped out after the whole thing's over. And it's like, I'm just kind of ready for fall and winter weather, and then hit it hard again next year. And I'll probably wait till the last minute again and wait, until 2 weeks out and work myself to death.
Yeah. Michael Schmidt saying something. 3 on the tree. Didn't Tanya chirp second and maybe third? What was the rear end ratio on that? And were the tires bald? What was it entertaining to see on the West Coaster? Here's the thing, man, is that that's the power and the torque of a slant 6 right there. Boom is what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. Or she was just power shifting it. It was
That's what I think it was. Yeah. It's the heavy flywheel. It probably has like a huge heavy flywheel in it, because the slant doesn't have a lot of power, so it needs to store it in inertia.
That's right. It's got a lot of rotating mass. That crank's almost 80 pounds. I think it's 85 pounds. It's a heavy crank.
Oh man, I bet the flywheel is probably like 40 pounds. Let's see. Levi's Backyard Performance down at 712 says, Mexican spec, you can give me cam ideas too. Just probably won't understand them. Language barrier or something. I'll tell you what. I think, to be honest with you, if we were going to spec Levi's cam, it's a factory roller, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how hard would it be to convert? How hard is it to go for a LS like a solid roller?
No, it's really easy, actually. Yeah, because they just make lifters for it.
Well, is it, I guess what I'm getting at is there any gain? Because generally when you go to a solid lifter, you lose a whole bunch of mass.
Yes, there is gain for it. But if you're running the Evolution lifters, there's really no gain in it. With the solid lifters, though, you can pick up area under the curve. You can get really, really fast with the ramp rates.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, yes, there's a lot to be gained. But then that's the financial cost. But you can get a hydraulic lifter, even a factory one, just push that thing off the bottom. It'll survive for what he's going to do. Because I'm not sure what kind of RPM he's going to do, but Once again, Levi, if you call and talk to me about this, I don't kiss and tell, so I won't tell anyone what you're going to do. But I definitely will hook you up on what you need because we have we have masters coming out all the time for these things.
I would definitely recommend something, Levi, before you go off the deep end, because you can easily go off the deep end in a combination. Okay,
Absolutely.
100%. Pick an RPM point that you're happy with, that you can afford, and don't go over it. Don't exceed it, and get your camshaft like dialed in for that RPM band. Like when I built the 427 in my T-Bird, I picked 6700 because 6700 allows the engine to live almost 100% longer than 7200.
That's exactly right. That 7,000 is that mark. I've always said that 7,000 RPM is your threshold. Once you get on this side of it, once you go north of that, length of that thing goes way
expensive, man. Valve train and valves and rods and pistons that can handle that kind of abuse.
Yeah,
it's not so much. Yeah, it's not so much like the horsepower you're making; it's the inertia.
Yeah, just springs are like $400 every 2 years. Think about that. Just springs for that for the Cookie Monster. I have to change the springs technically every year. It's like $400 just for springs for that thing because I RPM the crap out of it for just because it is what it is.
Yeah. So Mama M3 down at 713 says Jamie said he had a channel before the first No Name Nationals, but it was the event that made him grow his channel. He has been wanting to come since the beginning. Oh, all right. That's sweet.
That's good. Brian saying that he's looking for an LA 318 block in the St. Louis area if anyone has one. Dude, you have that 360 you just picked up for me, man. That's the one you should build. If you're going to put it in that big heavy pig that you got, that 360 is the way to go. Use that thing. Make it 30 over, and that'll be right at the limit, and you'll be happy. Put a 4, and then, do some of the weight break stuff, and have at it. Oh, Buick Smith. Here you go. Right up your alley.
Let's see. He got the 225 Oddfire and 3-speed manual in the L Special, but the drive shaft won't bolt up to the rear that I got out of another 65 Skylark. Never ran into that before. Okay. Here's what I'm wondering. I don't know what that 3-speed manual came out of, but is it a Dearborn 3-speed? If it's a Dearborn 3-speed, that's a Ford transmission. And I'm not sure if it is exactly the same. Like most of the GM stuff is very interchangeable. Like if you had a 4-speed manual, it was a T10. The T10 used the same drive shaft and length and all that stuff as a Turbo 400. So it was like not a problem. It was interchangeable. But since GM didn't have a manual 3-speed of their own, Borg Warner did the T85 3-speed, but I don't know if that was available in the whatever year you got there. Also, somewhere around 66 or 7, they went to the Dearborn 3-speed, which is actually a Ford top loader 3-speed, and they were kind of one-off. They had the ears to bolt up to the GM bell housing and the input shaft, but I don't know if the length and output shaft would be different. I'm sure it would technically be. I mean, I doubt it's the same exact length as a T10. So I'm wondering if that's what you're running into. See. Hey, here you go. KS Skyhawk says 38 Racing says, how about a complete 350 Buick? There you go. Oh, and I think Ray he's somewhere out that way. I don't know if he's in Kansas or Oklahoma.
There you go. And then this is actually for you, Dallas. He says that the old shops went out of business, and then he said he'd be happy to pay you to box something up and ship it across the country.
Let's see. Well, I don't need to get. I have just one, which is ideal for porting if you want to practice on it. But 38 Racing there is offering up a complete engine, so that might be the better option. And he's probably closer. And I mean, the shipping on that thing it is a cast iron cylinder head for a Buick 350. Even without valves and springs, it would probably weigh, I don't know, 45, 50 pounds.
Hey, Dallas, he says Mohawk 62 says he wants to apologize for talking your ear off yesterday. So there you go.
Oh, well, that's no problem. You guys actually didn't talk my ear off. You talked me till I had to pee. So I had to go outside. Like, I was like, hey, man, I got to go. Like, I literally got to go. So, man.
Here's the thing on these, though, Tanner and Ron. is that I don't even mess with the bushing ones anymore. I made a video on how I did this. I literally just get a torch. I torch out the center of the rubber. I push it out and I put a polyurethane bushing in there. And if the bottom one squeaks, it squeaks. I just don't care because it runs so much better than the rubber ones. So yes, I agree. The rubber ones are Lucifer himself designed those and put those in there, but you put a polyurethane one in it, it's totally good, easy, and it's done. Shane, if JMID's M-Car would have started, you would have known something was going on.
Yeah, if Junkyard D's car would have started.
Oh,
you would know something was going on at 2:30 in the AM. That's the guy that was doing the top end thrash, right?
Oh, yeah. You know, though, I don't know because, man, that trailer I had the AC on in that thing, and it was quiet. When they were actually working on that Power Glide was a Friday night? Yeah, Friday night they worked on the Power Glide, and they fired that thing up, and we never heard it. So they pulled that thing out. So,
I didn't even know they fired that.
Yeah, they fired it up because they fired up the red car. There was a red car there, the Mighty Mouse or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, you heard that.
Yeah, but no, then they pulled it. Yeah, well then they pulled it back in, and I never heard it. Yeah.
Let's see. Vintage Adventure drives says, speaking of Jamie and Slant Sixes, he's trying to convince me to fly out to Washington and drive a 73 Scamp home with his 225. What's y'all's thoughts? I'd do that in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, think about it. The 73 Scamp is actually a pretty decent looking car. They're fairly small. A 225 is going to get phenomenal fuel economy.
Off the freeway.
Yeah, it's simple, basic. It's got points carburetor. And I'm sure Jamie would have you hooked up and everything functioning before you even hit the road. Plus, here's something that you haven't thought about, Tanner. That thing's coming from the West Coast. It's going to be cleaner than the cleanest piece that you're going to find in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. 100% true, because every single one of my cars comes from California, and there's not one speck of rust on it.
Yeah, Washington State is just as good as California, in my opinion, really.
Yeah. Here's a question for you.
Dallas, aren't you glad you started racing again? I am. And to tell you the truth, that's all I ever really wanted to do. When I graduated high school, I wanted to get a job and work 40 hours a week, no more, no less, to support my racing habit and just enjoy life. Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
I wanted to drive around, go to different tracks, and just see different places, and a car that I could just go and race and have fun with. And that was it.
That's what I'm going to do now. So stand by. Once I get this freaking Buick done, it's going to be like I'm going to be at the track quite often. Let's see.
Mama 3 saying, Buick, I made a adapter of mine with 1/2-inch plate steel and sleeved the bolt holes through all 3 pieces. There are short on the Mopar Mustangs and minivans on how to do that. Yeah. Yeah, and I made some shorts and I made some videos too. I mean, there's plenty of them out there, but I just torch them out and put the polyurethanes in and call it done. That way you don't have to take any of the sleeves off at all on either on the inside or actually on the pin that goes through either. You just put it on, put it together, and call it a day.
And then Andy swoops in here, Unity Motorsports Garage. Speaking of springs, I got to change mine, and I'm right there with you, dude. I need to do it on the T-Bird as well. But I'm actually kind of considering maybe I should just freshen up that T-Bird motor, put some new springs in it, and then put that sucker up for sale. Put the motor up for sale.
Michael Schmidt says something here. He goes, Flathead Mopar 6. Shane talks about most slants like I talk crap about my fatty. I was a Blair Speed Shop in Pasadena, California today with an aluminum flywheel and clutch questions. I need some chirping. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. God, Pasadena, California, man. Man, I just all of a sudden saw palm trees in my head. You know what I mean?
You know what? Coming from the Midwest, and when I first got orders in the Navy, first place I went was San Diego. I went to school right there on Harbor Drive, right? And what was ridiculous was I went out there with this vision of grandeur. I'm going to go to Orange County. No, I'm not. I didn't know that it closed in 84 or 5, and then it was where's all these crazy tracks? Where's Fontana? Where's Irwindale? And it's like these places didn't exist anymore. And in the Midwest, I didn't know that. I mean, it's not like something that you would frequent. And when I got out there, the only tracks that were still around from the heyday were like Pomona, Carlsbad, and then you had one LACR, Los Angeles County Raceway up in like Palmdale. And it wasn't like one of the heyday tracks. But
Dizzy's saying, Brian, he has a complete 318 to come out there and pick it up, I guess. And connecting rods, 340 crank. So
I grabbed that 340 crank because it's steel. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, after, I think it was 72 and later. I mean, there's a crossover. Someone will correct me in the comments, but 72 and the older ones were the steel, the forged cranks. And then after that, they were like cast.
Well, I would definitely grab that steel crank from the 340. And hey,
Mopar, Kate, but don't play.
Play.
Yeah, she's in. So hi,
dude. I asked her. She sent a picture of. Okay, Buick Smith says Dallas. It's a Saginaw 3-speed. The engine, trans, and shaft came out of a 65 Special, and the rear I now have is from a 65 Lark convertible. The joint from the Special is somehow larger than the Lark yoke. Man, I did not see that coming. Was the 65 Special a 4-door? Wait, I guess that wouldn't matter. Well, it would if it was lengthwise.
Yeah, because on the Mopars you have 108 and you have a 111.
Yeah, that's how the Buicks are too. When it's a 4-door, it's like I want to say 4 to 6 inches longer, or maybe even 8. But I think it's 4. And what I'm trying to think of, there's like the joint would be bigger. You know what? I bet it probably one of them had some kind of optional rear end setup. I'll bet you that's what it was. Well, you know what? Probably not the Special.
Here you go. For all that work that you've been doing on the Dallas, it was a pleasure visiting you, and you've gotten the Buick looking really good. So there you go.
Wow.
There's some.
Man.
There you go.
Yeah, somebody's praising my work.
Yeah, there you go. So that gotta make you feel a little better,
It does. I mean, you got to remember that roof was caved in on that car, and so now everybody's going to be surprised when they see that it's not caved in anymore, and it's strong.
You know that Kate's saying that exactly what she's trying to do here is to influence other people to save the projects. Basically, what Dallas and I do here is we're helping you guys keep going on your projects. And if you got questions that are just frustrating you, that's what we're here for. That's what we do with this.
We figured, okay, we grew up in a generation where we had the crossover between the boomers and then the Gen Zers, right? And so we were taught by the boomers how to do the boomer stuff, which is carbs and distributors and points and the whole 9 yards. The Gen Zers, all that shit went away. Like 1990 was probably the last carburetor, right? And everybody has been fuel injected ever since. And matter of fact, race cars went fuel injected, and people are absolutely befuddled by carburetors again, and distributors and points and setting timing. And so it was like, you know what? We need to share this information and help people along, especially when it's like you don't know where to turn.
Yeah, I agree. Ron's saying something here. He's all signed dealer garage. Shane, Global West has products, Delrum, control arm bushings for GM stuff for years. Does anyone make similar Delrum products for Mopar? I can tell you right now, I've never seen them if they do. I've seen them where they have like the Heim joints. I got those on the Cookie Monster. What I have on Plan Z here behind me is literally just the polyurethane bushing in the bottom, and then up top I have it's like a polyurethane type of bushing, but it's got a washer on and within a washer, so that way it moves easier. So that way there's less friction on it. So it's got like a grease based in it. But I've never actually seen those, and if they do, I've never seen them.
Ron Ward says that the race from the frozen tundra of Nebraska. I knew it was out west. I couldn't remember where it was. I didn't think it was Kansas, but that's right. He is from Nebraska. Let's see. Wheelie King 71 says, is Poston still around? I remember back when I was playing with Buicks, they were the only ones that had much help for the 350s. No, Poston went away about 2006 when the economy crashed. So did Poston. And the sad part is no one bought any of their stuff. Like, I mean, not like, I don't mean like they didn't sell anything. I meant like they had their own intake manifold, the Poston S divider for a 350 Buick. Was it pretty much just an aluminum version of a factory 4-barrel? Yes. Right. But still, there had to be some casting information on that. There had to be a contact that they had to have those cast. But they made timing covers. You know, I wondered what happened to all that stuff. They used to sell headers. There has to be manufacturers out there that I wish I would have gotten the stuff from Poston and then continue producing it myself.
Yes, I agree. Like the headers on the Cookie Monster, those Hedman Hustlers, they don't make those anymore. You can't find those anymore. And I remember just ordering those out of a catalog at one point, and they just stopped making them out of the blue. And in fact, I bought all the rest of the gaskets that they ever made for those, so I've got them up here. So I've got like 15 sets of the head to the adapter plate, and then 15 sets of the adapter plate to the header, and that's it. There's no more after that. So,
well, you got to make some out of copper.
Right. Bobby Fizell says, sorry, guys, I've been in the shop working on the car. Good. I'm glad you're here. I have a question for you. Are you still going to make it? Are you still going to go? Clint Street Machine saying, isn't Famoso still around? Yes, it is. I like Famoso. Here's my only problem I have with
Famoso. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. That's Bakersfield, right?
Yeah, it's Bakersfield. The only problem I have with Famoso is the shutdown. Have you ever been down Famoso? Have you ever been down the Bakersfield? No. So if you watch some of the March Meet videos, after you go down, it's a full, concrete quarter mile. After that, it has a step and it goes onto asphalt, and the asphalt's wavy. And if you watch some of those cars, you get the little bounce, the little sway, the little shaky because it's all asphalt at the end down there. So that's my only problem is when you're doing 140, 150 miles an hour coming off of that concrete onto that asphalt, it's a little sketchy. That's it. That's my only downfall with Famoso.
So, and to answer, Buick Smith had asked about the different size U-joints. I'm wondering if they make I bet you they make an adapter U-joint for that. I bet you that's what GM used in the damn drive shaft instead of mass producing multiple drive shafts. Who knows?
Yeah. Rapid Transit Garage asking, Shane and Dallas, have you ever been to Great Lakes Dragway? I've never been there.
No, I have not been to that one.
No.
Yeah, you guys are way up in the real frozen tundra north.
Yeah. I've only been to like Indianapolis is been my limit as far as drag racing height. After that, just not really been much below. I went to Byron, Cordova, and that's about it as far as my northern areas going up that way.
So Fab Race Mod Repeats asking me, Dallas, do you have some bodywork shorts? No. I'm so lazy on that. Actually, today I had the intent of doing that.
You should, man.
Well, I had the intent of doing it, and I walked out, and my rotary tool decided to take a dump, like literally since I got in the garage, right? And I'm like, my God. So I ended up spending most of the day just disassembling 2 rotary tools to make one. And it was a pain in the ass, but now I have a functional rotary tool, and I can continue doing what I was wanting to do today for tomorrow. So, well, actually, probably not till tomorrow afternoon. So, he says do some bodywork shorts. Yeah, I probably should.
You should.
I don't know. I'm not a good bodywork guy.
And decent. Well, that's actually the best because then you're not like this professional knows exactly what to do. You're just trying to figure it out as you go along. It's exactly what I would do. It's exactly what most of us in this chat would do, unless you're professional on it. So you should do videos on it because you're just trying to figure it out as you go along.
Well, dude, you know what? Like, I realized how lucky I am with this little Buick. Like, everyone was, well, one, I always felt bad. Like, I paid too much for the car, right? I paid $2,200 for a freaking pretty beat car.
Did you want it? Is it something you wanted?
I wanted a 64 or 5, but okay. I could not find one that was not a rusted pile of junk, right? And in my price range. And so I'm like, well, dang, this 63 came up and it was from Abilene, Texas. So now here I am doing all this body work. I'm stripping stuff off the car. I'm getting things down. And it has hardly any rust in the whole car, and they're notorious for being junk, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I really did get lucky here. Well, then I crawl up underneath of it, and I had one of the fender bolts at the bottom of the fender. I went to take it out, and it just spun. The nut on top had broke loose from the little framing that it's on. You know, that little clip thing.
Yeah.
And it just spun. So I ended up having to get my Dremel out and then cut the head off of that bolt to pull it out of there. Well, when I was screwing with it, I pulled the fender off, and then I just pick it up, carry it outside, put it on top of my trailer, and I walk back inside, and there is no rust inside the fender, like where the fender was at. So the inner fender well, the cowl, nothing. There's no rust. There's dirt, but there's no rust. And I'm like, my God, this thing is like probably the cleanest. It's almost as clean as my T-Bird, which came from San Diego, right? But I realized what it was. It had been Z-Bart, like, what did they call that stuff? Undercoating?
Oh, yeah.
Remember they Z-Barted it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When it was new, when it was brand new, they Z-Barted the car. And now that since I've been working on it, like heating things up with a torch, the Z-Bart stuff is starting to come loose. And it literally just flakes off. But when it flakes off, it's like brand new underneath. And I'm like, my God, I'm so blessed, right? Like, I always felt terrible, like I overpaid for the car, but like this whole week has made me feel like, wow, I really, really did something smart here. I bought a 1 year only car, and I bought one that was super clean from the Southwest that had been undercoated by accident. So,
Andy's asking on valve springs, when do you know when to change them after testing spring pressure, set height? Yes. So what I do is usually, because in California, we didn't really do it much. We would just change them because there's really no downtime. But here, there's actually downtime. We stop racing somewhere in November, and we don't really pick up until about, March, right? So in that time, I'll take the springs off, and then you can usually send them into the manufacturer. And I know that Comp will test them, and then whoever the manufacturers you buy them from will test them, and they'll recertify them. And then you can just test them at install height and then over the nose. But it's always a good idea to really just replace them after really 2 years. If you're going over 7,000 RPM and you have any type of power adder, I'm telling you, 2 years, that's the max. If you could do at least, say, 4 or 5 events a year, that's about 10 events. That's about the limit on valve springs. I would trust them because they will break. I'm telling you, they will break. So Dizzy Izzy saying that he found a 2000 Dodge factory-built drag truck with no VIN tag, factory race team, 6.3 eighth mile time, 21,000. Is that 21? 21,000 bucks. That's way too much. I thought he said 2,000. So
it's a factory-built drag truck. Okay, when they were new, in 2000, that thing probably sold for about that price.
Yeah.
But Dizzy's also saying, Dallas, I'll trade you a 2022 Honda Monkey 125 5-speed, 2 miles maybe on it for your Easy 302. Honda costs $5,000 after financing. Well, it's funny that you bring that up because it literally has to go back to the dyno. I just made some phone calls about it today. I have all the stuff. Professor P hooked me up with some junk pile stuff, and it's supposed to go back to the dyno, and we're going to see if we can squeeze 400 horsepower out of that meager little 302.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So Vintage Adventure Drives asked this question. I get asked this question all the time, and there is no answer for this because you can't rob Paul to pay Peter and get a free lunch. Shane, I'm hating on my torque converter in my Scam. It has so much slippage. Isn't there a fancy torque converter out there that has 3,000 plus stall, but feels somewhat tight driving around? Yes, it's called the lockup converter. This is the only way it's going to work. Anytime you have something that's 3,500 stall, let's just say 3,000 stall, all right? That means it's going to flash to 3,500, but that means that it's going to get out of its own way sometimes around 2,500, but it's going to be slippity-doo-dah up for another 1,000. So from 2,500 to 3,500, it's just going to be, it's going to be a slush box. The only way to fix this is literally with a lockup converter, and that's it. There's no way around that, or go back to stick shift. Unfortunately, you can make them efficient, but with efficiency comes, a little bit tighter. So, you can have them high stall, but there's going to be there's no free lunch, because anything slippage means distance away from stator. You can have a much smaller one, but even then a smaller one is going to have a fluid coupling at a much higher RPM. So it's still going to be a slush box down below, because you're not going to have the fluid velocity to come back onto the stator to make it move. Unfortunately, sorry.
Oh no, I'm just reading through some of the comments here. I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like this one here, First Responder Garage says gaskets on headers, never used them and never had leaks. I guarantee you had leaks.
Yeah.
I cannot. I have never owned a set of headers that if they blew the gasket out, you knew immediately. There's no way. There's no way you didn't bolt them on and then they didn't leak.
Yeah.
Headers. Now exhaust manifolds, I've had exhaust manifolds you can bolt up. When you spend some time getting them true, they bolt right on. They fit perfectly. The factory didn't even put nothing in them. But headers, never.
Yeah. So Ron's asking us, when Shane, on a street strip leaf spring car, would you recommend aluminum bushings for a front leaf eye or polyurethane? Here's the thing, is that if this is a trans brake car or a high RPM stick shift car, aluminum all the way. If it's a foot brake car or something you're going to drive on the street, go right with the polyurethane. I didn't go to the aluminum ones in the Cookie Monster until I got a trans brake. It actually rode better. It did everything much better with the aluminum, and with the polyurethane. But the aluminum was so brutally harsh, and you got to keep checking things when you go through the aluminum one. But the aluminum one is better for performance, like if that's all you're doing. But if it's a street strip, like you said there, I would go with the polyurethane. That's just my opinion. That's what I would do. What would you do on this one, Dallas?
If it's a street car, it has to have some kind of flex. You cannot have solid bushings. Yeah. It will wear so bad, and then it will bind so bad, and then it will rattle your teeth out of your face. Like my race car is a prime example. It has solid bushings everywhere in the rear end.
Yeah.
And if I drive that at the track, just eighth mile or quarter mile at a time, under power, it's not bad. Driving back through the pits, I hate it. It rides so horribly, and it's so clunky and loud. It's annoying. It is definitely a race car.
Here's one more to make you feel better. Dallas, seriously, if you had not told me that the roof was caved in, I would have never believed it. You have done an awesome job on the roof and the rear quarter panels too. You should do some videos. I was telling you, man, you should do some videos.
Chris Cox says the same thing. And then he's up here razzing me saying, Dallas, you do way better than you think on all the stuff you say you're not good at. Yeah. Okay. It's probably just my ego. That means I'm very, I don't know, insecure about the work that I do. Even though I do think it out, I'm just very insecure about it because I feel like I get it better. Right. And like right now, I'm having a hard time. I could prime everything I have right now, but what sucks is I'm trying to make it perfect before I even throw the primer down, knowing that I'm going to have to block it anyway and still probably do multiple coats of primer. But just insecure about that stuff, I guess.
Here's a tech question for us, and this would be perfect for you, Dallas. Aside from C2 or C3, what would you guys choose for a competitive factory appearing stock tire class? You know, that fast class that they have?
And then that's the C2, C3 Corvette. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
You know which ones do really well in this class? And I'll tell you why. It seems to be the high winding stuff does better because they're running a stock tire, right? And don't let them fool you. There's nothing stock about the tire, right?
No.
They're sauced.
Look, it's the right width. It's got a red line on it. It's got the right tread pattern. That's about it.
They're using a lot of tricks from the stock car guys where they shave all the tread down to nothingness so that it is virtually a slick. And then it's sat in toluene for probably 24 to 48 hours, making it softer than a RC car tire, right? But I've noticed that like the Hemi Roadrunners is what does really good in this class, and that's
exactly
because
what I would do.
they don't do like tons of low end torque. It's all mid range and up, right?
Yep, that's right.
And it gets that thing moving. Now, when this class first came out, the Buicks were really competitive in the Fast series because they had so much low end grunt. The problem is when you're multiplying all the torque and you're using a stock tire, now they're just a smoke show, right? And they don't quite make the horsepower that the other cars make. I think in this class, there is a balancing act that I think would be like stuff that people haven't really tried yet that was available, but just no one's ever thought of doing it. Okay. I would take a page out of the playbook from No Prep Guys, and I would see if I could build like a Malibu or a Chevelle 300 Deluxe with like a 396 and a glide. And I think that would probably, that might be able to get it done.
Yeah.
But it would not be a 396, but I would prefer to have like a 427 and a glide. You need something that's got torque, but you need that glide to not multiply it. And it just keeps applying it as it goes down the track, right?
But I think the part of that fast class is it has to have what it came with. You know what I mean? So
right,
like
it has to be factory appearing.
Yeah. And
right.
I think the numbers have to, so like the car that you have had to have that from the factory, I think is what it, I could be wrong, but I think that's, I watched a few of these videos and they were like deciphering codes, like this is the VIN code. And so, oh yeah, it's got all the stuff it came with from the factory. At least that's what they were saying.
Well, okay. Well, let's say we're going to rewrite the whole entire book and I'm going to do something new here. Man, I would really like to have like a 67 Buick Wildcat with a 430 and a Super Turbine 300 2-speed. And I think that sucker would get down. Well, I don't know. These guys are running in the 9s.
Yeah.
That wouldn't get down. I'd have to make locomotive torque to do that.
For me, it would. You already named my car. It'd be a Hemi Roadrunner, and it just for the simple fact because of that, you have to kill some of the torque. I would use the RPM, and I would just run that thing to death, and that's exactly what it wants to do.
Yeah, I think the only other way to do this would be like, you could run a 3-speed like a 727 or a Turbo 400 or something. It would have to be a small big block, like a 383. A 383 would do good in this class, or a 400 would do really good in this class because they're meant to whine.
They're knocking on
the 8s. Okay, yes. Well, you know what? What I'd like to see and what I could have, if money was no object, dude, I'd like to do like a 327 L79 Nova and run it in this class.
Now, don't they have different? They have a big block class and a small block class, don't they? Or do they?
I don't think so.
It's just all together.
Yeah, factory appearing stock tire. So it's whatever tire the thing came with. See, the reason why the Vets are so fast is because A, they're light, and B, they came with the widest damn tires and wheels you could get. Right? It's the guys are at the disadvantages, the big block mid-sized cars, because they came with a hoopty little tire and they got the torque, like your Hemi Roadrunner was almost absolutely undrivable from the factory, with the polyglasses on it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that's like, that's why the fast guys that had the Vets have become the thing. If you really could, a Cobra, AC Cobra would be cool to participate in that.
Well, he's saying here that they have the factory appearing class and they have a pure stock class. So that's the one I would probably run as the pure stock class, because the fast ones, they just has to look fast. But I've seen some of the tricks and I've made some of the cams for that fast class. And I'm like, there's just no way that you're going to run this in the fast class. And they do. But the pure stock class, I would like that because that would be fun. That would be fun.
I think it would be cool. Pure stock.
Dude, 340 for me, it would be, I would have either a Dart or a Duster, 68 Dart, or I'd have like a 340 Duster. Because I'm telling you,
I just had an awesome idea.
I would have that.
Speaking of that, like all of this stuff here, okay, what if I don't finish my 63 Buick or whatever? But didn't Jed's dad show up with a Hemi Charger this year?
He sure did.
I wonder if Jed would want to recreate the Hemi versus the Stage 1 shootout.
Oh yeah, why not?
I think that would be cool. Maybe I should talk to Jed, see if they want to. I'll get my old man Stage 1 together and we'll just recreate the whole thing. And it's not a ringer, it's just factory stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
actually less than factory stuff because I can't
You know
afford
what?
the factory stuff.
I'm going to speak for Jed. I'm telling you right now, I think he would go for it because they were like they loved just drag racing that car. I think he made like 7 passes down the track in that thing.
Dude, I should hit him up and see if he wants to recreate the Stage 1 versus the Hemi.
So here, Ron took the words right out of my mouth. Pure Stock seems to be full of 400 Firebirds and 340 A bodies. It's exactly right because the 340 A bodies were the king of the cars, man, back then. I'm telling you, I've said this a few times. There was the fastest car in our area was a factory stock 340 Duster 4-speed. It had one of those takeout engines that they put back in and happened to have TA heads on it. But he lived up in Ramona. He was friends with a guy named Lance that actually named the Cookie Monster. Anybody in the area, when they wanted to run someone, they would basically run that guy. If they beat him, which no one ever did, then they would go down to the drag strip and race. But that guy was like the guy to beat, and it was literally a factory car. It would sit for 3 or 4 years. They'd go over there, fire it up, and then they would take it down and drag race it, cobwebs everywhere, and he would just beat up on people. It was amazing. It was awesome. And that ever since then, I was like, I got to get me one of them someday.
Dude, I was with the L79 Nova. That's the car I think of.
Yeah.
Somebody had like a 67 L79 Nova that their grandmother had bought, right? But it sat on the lot like languishing for months or years. I don't know. But apparently it was like this old lady picked it up for a song because they needed a car, and that one was pretty dirt cheap and it was basic, right? But it ended up being 375 horse solid lifter cam 4-speed Nova, right?
Yeah.
And this sucker was fast. I mean, but like the grandma's story, who knows if that was true or not? The guy that I knew that had it he wasn't a grandma, right? he was a pretty hardcore guy. But I'm thinking, those lightweight small block stick shift cars, there was some serious ringers in there that were way underrated and much better thought out than the muscle car programs themselves.
Yes, because they were light. You're talking about a car that weighs 3,200 pounds. It's making 300, 350 horsepower, 6,000 RPM, and it gets an RPM like that. And they come with headers sometimes from the factory.
Well, I think those Novas were like 27 or 2,600 pounds.
Yeah,
right. They're light. But that's what I always wanted, was something like that, lightweight, small cubic inch, rev hard. The ringer before there was a ringer, and really the whole purpose of that was to beat insurance. Like if you went and bought a new Hemi Roadrunner, right, the insurance company would shit on you more than the payment company.
Yeah,
right. And so the finance company. So what they did was they came up with the small block insurance beater, and that was your 340 Dusters and 340 Barracudas and Darts. But then you had on the Chevrolet, bandwagon was the 327, the 327 and the little Nova. I mean, most everybody else's Nova was a 283 with a Power Glide.
Right.
The V8 Nova was not like uncommon. It's just, it wasn't the same.
Yeah. So Levi's saying he can't find a Triple Crown car for a decent price. We are looking in the $1,000 and below. I don't mind some of the rust or dent, but Lord, they want 25 for rusted, dented, no title cars that are gutted. Dude, I totally get it, man. Here's a good one. This is one we can talk about for a little bit. Michael Schmidt, friction reduction. Is it effective to reduce the corrugated ring, oil ring tension by bending it to reduce its tension? Ben Alameda recommends this and even eliminates middle ring to reduce friction. Crazy. Okay. Whatever Ben Alameda does, he's amazing. And I'm going to say this before I give my opinion. And he's always looking for every little speck of extra horsepower because that's what he does and that's what he builds for that type of thing. In my camp, in my program, I want to control oil because for me, oil is detonation. For what I'm building, I can't afford even right now to have an engine that I'm going to run to the ends of the earth. It's got to last at least 2 to 3 or 4 years before I have to tear it down. And I would like something to last even longer. If I'm burning oil, then I'm going to have some sort of detonation. I'm going to have some sort of pre-ignition. I'm going to be consuming oil. That's not good for me. So on mine, I'm just going to go with a low tension. I'll go with low tension, thin rings, but I'm not going to be bending them out to reduce friction for that. That's just my opinion on it because I need something that's going to work. And I read a lot of plugs. In fact, I've got some right here from other people down the street. They're starting racing again, and they bring me their plugs, and I read them and I tell them what to do. If I have oil in there, it's hard to read the plug because there's now oil contamination on it, and it's going to burn it, and you're going to see it on the plug. So that's just my take on it. I wouldn't do it, but that's just for me.
And if it's a driver, okay, there's a big difference between race tricks,
yes,
and street driver. Completely two different things. Completely. Okay. It used to be the ticket used to be about 2004, 5, 6. The ticket used to be run only 2 rings. You run the oil ring and the top compression ring. And what you would do is you'd buy a really expensive set of rings and get like a Napier style top ring, which sealed really well, but then ditch the second ring. Okay. And then you would essentially run 2 rings. You know what that was good for? Probably 5 horsepower and a hell of a lot of oil smoke.
Yes.
Right. And you'll notice like when a race car starts up and it blows smoke when it fires. Okay. That's something with thin rings. When a race car starts up, it blows smoke and continues to blow smoke. That's an engine with 1 ring.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually.
And yeah. And so you would never do the 1 ring trick, or in this case, the oil ring trick that Ben Alameda is recommending for a race engine on your daily. You would never do that.
Even on my race engine, that's just me. I'm not looking for 5 more horsepower. I will take the 5 horsepower hit for the longevity. That's just my opinion. That's what I was trying to get at. That's just. Would you take the 5 horsepower hit for the longevity?
Oh yeah, any day of the week. Because when I put one together for a daily, I expect it to stay together for like the next 4, 5, 6 years, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. Vintage Venture Drive says, I think it'd be cool to have a 340 car, but I'm wanting to go with the slant route for now. I'm telling you, man, a slant 6, dude, I'm telling you, I know how to build a few of them. I know what works.
Yeah.
I can get you a camshaft that will make good RPM. It makes good torque. It makes it driving fun. It's spirited. It's not a race car. It's spirited. And it will keep up and actually beat a lot of the traffic nowadays around. And it's really fun to drive. I'm telling you, when you get to that route, I'll make you a camshaft and you'll be happy. I promise you. I've gone through about 25 renditions before I nailed this one down. And we in Dallas talk pretty much every morning. And how many times have I told you, I love how this thing drives now? How many times have I said that?
Oh, every day. Whenever you drive it, you're like, I love this thing. Like,
there was one I missed up here. Clint saying that he says, let me ask around him. There's lots of no titled guided stuff around him. And then he's rebuttaling saying, thanks, man. I don't mind. Same problem cars, but I ain't playing good money for junk. And the car we just went to look at was basically junk, but $1,500 offered $1,000. She didn't take it. I'm telling you, man, people are just thinking their stuff is worth way more than it is. You know, if I see a car, even a 4-door or even a Dart, I'm still seeing a $500 to $1,000 car. I don't see.
No, see, that's what the problem is, though. That's our frame of reference.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to take a while for our frame of reference to adjust to what things are today. Right. But the reality of it is, I remember buying cars. Anything that you couldn't get in and turn the key was worth less than $1,000.
Agreed.
If it didn't start up and drive, if anything start up and drove was worth $1,000.
That's right.
right? Or more. And it just went up from there, right?
Mhm.
But if it didn't run, it was worth less than $1,000. Well, today it's like, oh, I got something old. All right. And you go and look at it, and it's like a 63 Pontiac Granville. Okay. All right. It is old, and it's kind of neat. Here's the downside. No one fucking wants them. That's why it's sitting there still.
Yeah.
Right? Old does not mean desirable. Rare does not mean desirable. If you got the only pink pacer ever made,
Right.
it's still a fucking pacer. No one wants that. No one wants
Nobody
pink.
wants that, right?
Yes.
Even worse that it's pink.
Yes, it is rare, but it's not desirable. Okay. And that's the problem, that we're getting misconstrued, because people they walk by, I don't know, Barrett Jackson, and they're like, oh, dude, look, that looks almost like my 63 Pontiac Granville, but that's a 63 Impala Super Sport 409 4-speed car. And it sold for, I don't know, maybe 65,000. And so now my car's got to be worth 10% of that, right? Because it looks almost the same, but it's a completely different car.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So we got this whole thing right here. What are your thoughts on the short versus long rod debate? I'm contemplating on a 451 stroker. There are options with either 1.3 rod to stroke with that rod to stroke ratio, or 1.7. That's he's saying compression height. I thought he was talking about the rod. Here's the thing, man, is that I would try to keep, if it's a driver, okay, so if you're getting a rod to stroke ratio, like say in the 1.44, not the compression height, but I'm saying the rod to stroke ratio, and say the 1.48, 1.49, that's going to build more torque. It's going to be less prone to detonation. You're going to have a higher initial piston speed. It won't ping. It won't do a lot of things. It's not going to RPM very well. If you're looking for something that's going to be more of like spirited, like race car, I would try to get a little higher in that number, because it's gonna keep the dwell at the top. It's gonna build a bigger flame kernel, and it's gonna RPM better, because there's gonna be a lot more different factors. It literally does the exact opposite. It does have a little bit more detonation prone, but because the RPM of the piston at the average speed is a little slower, as far as how it pulls away from things, it's gonna last longer. So here's what I would do: is if you're not looking to RPM it to death, like say 6,500 RPM, I would try to run the compression height is the 1.3. I'd try to run the 1.3 compression height on either one of them, because that would just make a lighter piston. That's going to make a lighter bob weight, in my opinion. That's what I would do, and that would have a longer rod, and it would just last longer.
I go with the longer rod.
Yeah,
Rev better. Yeah, you're building a race engine, right? 451 stroker.
Is he
I would
building
go with the longer rod.
Yeah, always go for a longer rod if you can, if it's a race engine. If it's a street car, it won't make any really difference, is what I was trying to get at. Because
it would just be less prone to detonation, I think, with the longer rod as well.
Well, the dwell is longer, so the it pulls away from TDC a little faster with the shorter rod.
Right.
After as far as when the flame kernel happens. So
I remember us talking about this a lot when I was building that 393 for my Ford truck, and I was trying to debate that I wanted to use the stock Windsor rod or do I wanted to get a longer rod.
Yeah, but longer rod is better for everything else. You know what I mean? It's literally better for everything else. It's just that
I never had an engine so detonation happy in my life than that 393 with a stock Windsor rod. I regretted not putting a long rod in it every day, and I thought it was more prone to detonation.
It's literally the reverse of that.
Man, I don't know. It should be literally the reverse, but I don't know. I don't know if it's negligible or not.
It is negligible, but when you're dealing with, like, say you're at like say 10-to-1 compression, or say 9.5, and you're right at that verge of, like, say 91 octanes, what we had in California, that's when the negligible is kind of like, that's where that straw that broke the camel's back. That's right. The number that you're looking for, and that's where it becomes problematic. And I found that out in the first couple slants I built, because it has such a long ass rod, long ass stroke, it holds up there so long. I built the compression to 9.5 to 1, and it just was too much. I dropped it down to 9.2. Never a problem after that. But that's the thing. And if I could have put a shorter rod in there, I would have, because then I could pull that thing away from there quicker. Okay, so first responders asking, I did one ring, but you need to certain type of piston rings design from the top of the piston to the second ring land. I won't do it again. To daily driver, not worth the extra 4 to 6% with the worry. I just wouldn't do it for just any reason at all for my builds. It's just not worth it.
I think of it, and like I was saying, I don't remember what it was. I never built one. There was guys using the single ring, the top compression ring, and I think what they were doing was it was a Napier ring, and I think they were putting it in the second ring land, right? Because it's the same thickness, but they were putting it in the second ring land. The only thing I could think of is it would rock that piston so bad.
First responder saying that Dallas has never heard of someone using a Napier top. The design makes for the ring float like a snowplow when you have no. When you
above rated,
above.
probably RPM or something, and it's just a typo.
Oh, okay,
it's apples to oranges. I don't know. I don't remember what they were doing because I never really dove into. I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard. Putting one ring in it.
Yeah,
right. It was like, that is so contradictory what you're trying to do. I could see you going to. You can go to really thin rings, and the two thin rings add up to about like one ring, right? Like 1 5/64 ring. But the problem is you're using two different style of rings, right? So one would be like your Napier top, and then the second would just be the straight cut. And you're using two different ring surfaces to seal. In the single ring, you're completely dependent upon one sealing surface. And it is, again, that one sealing surface, it's in one place instead of being spread out.
Yeah.
So you don't have twice as much surface area. Well, technically you would. I don't know. It would almost be worth building a motor, like get something cheapo.
Yeah.
And literally just dyno it and try it.
Like, that would be worth, like, if you're just doing, like, say, a Briggs & Stratton, single cylinder. That way you can take them apart, test it real easily, and just try all the different things on it.
Yeah.
Vintage Venture Drive says, I'll clarify. I'm looking for 65 to 7,700 RPM of scam. Short rod is 1.69 rod ratio. Long rod is 1.8. Okay, at that point, pick the one that has the lightest bob weight, because then that's going to give you the less counterweight, and that's going to be less weight in general, and that's going to be the most horsepower. So at those two numbers, it's not going to make any difference at all for what that RPM that you're doing. So pick the one that has the lightest bob weight. That's what you want to run, is the lightest bob weight.
The other thing to take into account is look and see where the wrist pin is at. In some of those combinations, they put the wrist pin like way up in the oil ring, and then they got a horrible oil consumption issue.
Well, that's what he was saying with the compression height. That's what the number he was giving me on the compression height. But
okay,
at those numbers of the compression height, it'll be fine, because I'm running a 1 point on the Gen 3 Hemis. They have like a 1.2 or 1.1 compression height, and it's the pin is up into the oil ring, but they're still just fine because they're running all the newer style rings, and they work just fine. I don't worry about that as much anymore as like I used to. But for that, what he's talking about right here, for this kind of stuff, the lightest one, I would take light, because now you're going to RPM up faster, and you're going to bring back down faster, and that's going to make more power as far as how it's going to go down the track. Less rotating mass.
Oh, and Andrew Nelson's agreeing here too. Go with the longest rod possible, right? When you're doing a race engine, that's all you do is long rods. I did that on that 300 I built in Florida. I went with a Buick 350 length rod, and it changed the rod length from 6 inch to 6.4 inch.
Yeah,
right?
That's the difference.
That was significant, man. That sucker was rev happy. It was really rev happy.
I agree with Nelson on the long rod, but at this RPM level, it's not going to make a difference, is what I'm trying to get at.
I think also the angularity of the rod has a big
It does.
effect on how it actually the engine runs. Okay, the
Mhm.
closer you can get to straight up, so
Of
the
course.
longer the rod you use, the closer it's always going to be to straight up.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
the closer you are to straight up, the faster it's going to want to rev, but also the less wear it's going to have on the block because it's not going to side load that piston at all. The closer you get to straight up and down.
Yeah, I would just be looking at. I mean, there's a balance between a longer rod and weight for that RPM, and that what he's doing. I would be. It's all about weight for me at that point. If it
Yeah,
was
I think
above the
so.
7,000 mark, then we'd be talking about, you
Yeah.
know, differences on that. I normally don't do this kind of stuff, but I'll do it because we go out there all the time. But Mom M3 is saying, sorry to be a downer, but I was just notified that a 12-year Sykeston officer was shot in the line of duty on the 6th. So his name was Officer Henry Franklin. So sorry to hear that, man. That sucks. See you. Race for Street. Okay, here's another one. Race for Street. All of the industrial 454s that I put together were 180 degrees from making power, but would run 1,820 RPMs for 20 to 30,000 hours. Yes, exactly. Because I built a lot of those generator engines, also those camshafts for those things. They're like 170 duration, 180 on like a 104 lobe separation angle, and that's literally what they were. And they would start up and they would just be at like just under 2,000 RPM, and that's what they did.
My God, it's low.
Yeah, but it's all torque right away, and that's it.
Now I want to make a Buick 455 industrial engine with a camshaft like that.
Right.
Yeah.
See if there's anything here. Route long. My son is in the nerves. Okay.
Let's see. I don't think there's anything new. Everybody's just
No.
freaking chatting it up and having a good time. There's no questions.
Say, would the long rod versus short rod make any difference below 4,000 RPM? In our testing, we've done a lot of testing on this. We haven't seen anything below 4,000 really. We just noticed the detonation with the shorter rod is less prone to it. The longer rod will definitely will carry it longer, so there would be less. It keeps the angularity down, keeps the average piston speed down. The acceleration away from TDC is slower. There's a lot of things that happen with that. But below 4,000, we never really. It's hard to say because we would only test from like say 4,000 and up is really on the dyno.
Most of the time, like engine dynos, if you haven't noticed, generally start at like 2,500, right, or up.
Well, we start way above that. We started like 3,500.
Well, that's why I don't like a dyno. My personal opinion, I don't like a dyno because it doesn't give you real street,
exactly,
like, seat of the pants feel,
and
right?
It's full throttle, yeah.
And because I mean, think about it: when you're driving a car on the street, the most enjoyable one to drive is the one that has all the torque. And guess what? It's usually from 1,000 to 2,500 where you're feeling it all at.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't think a lot of it doesn't equate. I mean, it does give you the numbers, but see, a dyno only really tests torque and horsepower. Yeah, horsepower is a mathematical formula of torque as a factor based on engine speed, and the crossing point is always going to be 5,250 because that's the math. That's actually the number that you use to determine horsepower from torque.
Yeah. So it's dependent and independent variables. So your independent variable is torque, and then your dependent variable is going to be horsepower. So that's basically what you kick out, and it's relative to RPM. That's literally, it's just a mathematical thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dexter saying that on Saturday night he rode in a 550 horsepower Bluesmobile in the old Joliet prison for the 45th anniversary showing of the Blues Brothers in the yard, plus tour of the retired prisons. It was super cool. For Bluesmobiles came. I was actually watching that on Facebook.
Oh, I was seeing there was pictures of Dugster and Cope.
Yep,
yeah,
I saw that too.
So
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Vintage Venture Drive says the 318 in my satellite has 9.25 compression. The piston is 100 thousandths down and 52 chamber cc's in the head. The head got milled and closed chambered. It detonates. I was supposed no quench does that.
if you milled it down to a closed chamber, you made quench.
Yeah, and also too putting the piston down in the hole is not good either.
No, that makes it detonate more.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I can tell you that right now on slant sixes, they're usually 180 thousandths down in the hole, and then they have also too a big chamber on the top, so they actually have them up on top. So that's why I always whack, at least on a racing slant. I take 140 thousandths off, so that way I actually have some sort of combustion in the chamber instead of halfway down in the damn.
And if you want to see a prime example of the snafu of this, okay, no one knew about quench, maybe in racing circles in the 1970s, but pretty much in the automotive industry, no one knew of quench in the early 70s when we went to emissions standards. Okay, and this is where all the major manufacturers snafu'd big time. They missed the mark, especially if you want to see the prime examples of it. The 400 cubic inch engines made at those times, the 403 Oldsmobile, the 400 Dodge, the 400 Ford Cleveland, and all of them have the piston down the hole like 140, 160 thousandths. And it's just like the opposite of quench, literally the opposite of it.
Right.
And they all ran like dog shit, and they all barely made any power. And they did all that because what they did was they went back to when they were mandated. Okay. In the timeline of hot rods, the 1940s, a lot of engines were like 6-to-1, 7-to-1 compression because they hadn't invented or created affordable high octane fuel. Okay. That came about from World War II. World War II is when the United States figured out the high octane fuel because our planes were down on power compared to the Germans and the Japanese. So
that's what won us the war, was the fuel.
Yeah, the high octane fuel.
Mm-hmm.
The caveat of creating high octane fuel made a bunch of gearheads in the aircraft community. When they came back from World War II, they wanted to freaking hot rod their American cars, and then compression ratios went through the roof. It started off with like, little 283s at 8.5 to 1 compression, then 10 to 1 compression, and then 11.25 to 1 compression, and it stayed that way until 1971 when Uncle Sandwich came in and cut the legs out from under everyone. And when they did that, it dropped to 8 to 1. And what the manufacturers did is they went back to the science that they knew, the pre-war low compression engine stuff. And they took all of the quench out of them. They added super thick head gaskets, and they opened the chambers up on all the heads. And all it did was neuter everything. And like to the point where I honestly believe, because I had like the cars I grew up on wrenching on was these shit pots, right? Was these neutered cars from the factory. Like you go down and I got a big block and it's got 131 horsepower. And you're like, golly, just 2 years before that, this same engine made 365 horsepower, and it was sad because what they did was, I think the things ended up using more fuel and made less power. I really think that's the way it went. They were probably less emissions friendly, used more fuel, and then made less power. So there was no win on it at all. It wasn't until, and like you guys can like look it up. It wasn't until like about 1992 when the LT version engine came out in the Chevrolets is when I saw performance starting to come back around. I would say the 5-liter Fords, but no. The 5-liter Fords were literally a turd, but it was the most polished turd in the 80s. Okay, the Grand National really wasn't all that. Without a chip and, like the tuning that they had on them, those things ran, 13s, 14s? They weren't all that fast.
Yeah.
The 5-liter Mustang was the ringer in the bunch because they came. Not one of them came with anything more than a 323 gear. But if you drop the rear end gear out and took the 323 out and put a 373 in it, it would run like 1290s.
Yeah, it was a 12-second car. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Buick's asking a question. He goes, so does the engine on a dyno actually make the torque all the way to the top of the graph with the horsepower, even though it looks like it's falling off after 52 on the graph? No, 52 is just where they cross. So let's just say you have a high RPM engine. The torque could still be going up at 52, but that's where they're going to cross mathematically. It's always going to cross 52. So it doesn't mean
that's because that's a multiplier in the equation is 52. So that's why it has to cross there.
It has to cross there no matter what. So usually that's why, like if you watch a diesel torque, you'll see the diesel torques all the way at the top, and the horsepower is really low because they usually don't get all the way to 52. But then you'll see some of those, like you just watch some Engine Masters. They have them on YouTube here. They'll have like a big block Chevrolet, and you'll see the torque is still going up, and then that thing will cross, and that horsepower is just going up to the moon. So that's just where they're going to mathematically cross is all it is. And it will always cross there.
Yeah. And the sad part is the dyno doesn't show the drivability. There's no reference for drivability on it. Is it going to make power? Yeah, it probably makes a lot of power, but is the drivability suck? That's like a horrible factor. Okay, if it's not a driving, like something you're going to drive around every day, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So this is just a public service announcement. So Crystal just showed me that the next tropical storm will be named Karen. You've all been warned. So yes. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to go look that up because that could be really bad. Does it have a hair down to the side like this? And let me call your manager.
Yeah. So Michael Schmidt saying in the 80s, the 5-liter was the only performance engine as far as I can remember. Everything was a dog with fleas back then. They were all turds. It wasn't until the LT engine came out in 92 in the Vet, and then it came in the Caprice and stuff like the following year. And that's when and the only reason that was the way it was is because that had reverse cooling. And Smokey Yunick actually had created that, and General Motors worked with it, and it had reverse cooling. It would cool the cylinder heads before it cooled the block. And that allowed them to run 10 1/4 compression, which brought performance back. The camshaft was still a garbage camshaft like out of a Chevy truck, right? So they made gobs of torque, but it was a huge jump in horsepower compared to the previous TBI 350 Chevy years.
So actually we have something here that I've been working on for years. US 191 is saying miles per gallon plus tank size equal range. I drive long distances in my muscle car cars. Is there any site discussion where intelligent people discuss the subject where real data, 14 to 18 miles per gallon, is realistically possible? Yes, it is. I do a lot of videos, and now I know it's a slant 6, but I do a lot of videos on how to recurve your factory distributor, and vacuum advance, get a wide band on there. I've been working on my slant 6 at 75 miles an hour, even though it's got a crappy cross-sectional area and a coefficient of drag. I'm still pulling about 22.8 miles of the gallon out of it. I just did that going to Dallas and back. I went 75 miles an hour there, 75 to 77. On the way home, I did between 77 and 85. And I got about 18 on the way home. It wasn't as good. So I found the limit of where that works. But yeah, this is what we do. My daily drivers.
Like coming to 1M Nationals, Ron Ward was getting 19 miles a gallon in his Roadrunner with the 440 in it.
Yeah, and he did use that video on how to recurve the distributor, on how to get the math on it and the weights. So he did that, and he actually picked up some mileage. He actually told me that. So go check some of that stuff out. But yeah, that's what we do here. We can definitely help you out with that. Because my daily driver is a slant 6. I literally drive that everywhere. In fact, I'm leaving Saturday to go to Six Smokies, and I'm not even taking a truck and trailer. I'm leaving from here in that car, going out there, going to drive it for a week for 1,000 miles, and then going to drive it home. Oh, Mom in 3 says, Shane and Dallas are the guys for that question. So there you go.
Oh, gas mileage. Yeah. I don't know. I think, Shane and I were actually talking about this morning I like hot rodding gas mileage on the road like I do hot rodding at the racetrack, right? Like I like the idea of beating the system.
Me too.
Well, the game is rigged against you, right? Everything's going to get. Have you ever noticed they make a really awesome engine that gets fantastic gas mileage, and then they put it in a big fucking car that weighs like 3,800 pounds, and it like just gets the same gas mileage as everything else.
Right?
Yeah, I always wondered why GM, with a vast inventory of engines from the 70s and stuff, they never crossbred anything that made any sense. You know, like when the Buick V6 was hot in like a Monza or a Skyhawk or something like that, you know, and they put them in regular anemic ones in a G body. But how come like you couldn't get it in an S10 pickup?
Yeah.
You know, like why? Well, that makes a lot of sense. The S10 was notoriously bad on fuel. It had a 4.3 V6, and they were just kind of about as bad as a full-size truck with a 4.3 V6. And so it made no sense when you could have put that 3.8 that was much more sprightly than the 4.3 and then got some kind of decent mileage out of the S10. It's like they never, you know, if it was a Chevrolet, it stayed Chevrolet, but they never dipped into anybody else's parts. But if it was a Buick, they'd sure as shit dip into the Chevrolet, or a Pontiac, they would dip into the Chevrolet stuff and crossbreed them from the factory, but they'd never go the other way.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that brings me, I guess, full circle back to why did we not put a turbocharged V6 in the freaking Corvette?
Also here's another one too on UE 191 is that there's some stuff that helps with mileage that you can do. Like I've been working on like my transmission as far as making it more efficient, the rear end gear, making that more efficient, even down to the tires. I actually bought tires that were actually hold more air pressure, so they were like 55 pounds, I think, is the max inflation at cold. And whenever I go on a road trip, I would try to get them, obviously check them cold. I'd give it to like 52 pounds before I leave. And that all helps out. It literally, every little thing that you do adds up. Even just as far as like carburation tune, I've literally been doing that for months with these twin Hollies. So yeah, all that stuff adds up. So, and then we've actually got something here, Dallas, for you to say. This is for you. You got to say this one. This is your.
Across some chaos here, switch pitch.
There it is.
Levi, you need one in your Triple Crown car, just so you can see what all the talk is about. Mr. Venture Drive says, if I get that scant from Jamie, I'm going to try my hardest to make that car get 26 to 28 miles a gallon. You need to talk to Shane because that's what he does every day on on the green. What is it? The Lizard King.
Lizard King. Here's the thing, though, is that you have to qualify your miles per gallon, your speed first. That's the first thing you have to qualify is what are you going to do for speed before you do anything else, because that's achievable at 60 to 65 miles an hour. It's when you get up to the freeway speeds is when that really becomes very, very, very difficult. But I can help you out with that 100%. I really can.
Blue Grit Garage is saying, speaking of 5-liter Mustangs,
where are you at? How far? What's the number?
827.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you dropped down. I was actually going to grab this one here real quick. Yeah.
Okay.
He's saying that his satellite gets 1718 with the 390 gear, single plane intake, no vacuum advance or overdrive. Yeah. At what speed though? That's the difference. And remember that your satellite though is really that was kind of when they were kind of getting into learning about drag. You know, so that's actually a really good car
on that sucker. He needs to put the vacuum advance on because it'll get 21, 22 then at that point.
Exactly. And the vacuum advance will just, there's a few different ones. I try to get them like say 15. They'll say like 4.5, 7.5 on there. That means 15 degrees because it's a cam advance, not necessarily crankshaft advance. Put that on there, and then they usually have a set screw in the center of them. That way you can play with it. Put a vacuum gauge, put it on your dash, and then that way as you drive, you can start to see with the vacuum and how the timing comes in. And then if you got a wideband too, you can put that there too. And that's literally how I've been tuning my car. Is I have both those kind of going. And when I drive out to TCI, it goes up and down a bunch of hills and it's a bunch of straight road. So I get a lot of uphills, downhills, and I can see when the economizer kicks on, when it kicks off and whatnot. So I can play with spring pressures and whatnot. And it definitely helps out. And keep a log.
So Blue Grit saying, speaking of 5-liter Mustangs, what was the fun street combination of cam and heads did you use? I have a 90s Explorer roller cam with GT40 heads. I also have a set of Ford Motorsport X303 heads.
Oh,
Okay. When I ran around on the street, I'm going to tell you right now, that Explorer camshaft is like the worst camshaft you could put in anything.
Yeah.
I've tried them. It's the same as a truck camshaft. It is just a 96 Ford truck camshaft. It doesn't matter if it's a Windsor or a 302, they came with the same cam. Then the Explorer got them because they were leftovers. Take it out and throw it in the trash. I beg you. Okay. I know you don't want to do the work. But if you have GT40 heads on there, I'm going to give you the trickiest of the trick combinations. I don't know if you want to go out and spend the cash. I'll give you a couple of options for something that's reasonable. Okay. First off, the very reasonable using factory parts combination. 90s Explorer cam in the trash. 1992 Thunderbird 5.0 camshaft, HO camshaft. Because in 92, 91, they started coming with a 5-liter HO. You can get a 91, 92. You find one of those camshafts that's the same cam as the 93 Cobra. Also, if you have like access to multiple camshafts, you got some friends sharing stuff around, see if you can score an 85 cam or an 86 roller cam that came in a 5-liter Mustang. Those are the best roller cams that Ford had produced. But 91 to like 93 Ford Thunderbird 5.0 HO camshaft, good streetable camshaft. Best street driving camshaft you're going to find, and it'll get really good mileage. If you really want to go the aftermarket route, the Ford E303 cam was my favorite. E303 cam, GT40 heads, Cobra roller rockers, and that sucker would dance a song like you wouldn't believe. And that's the combo that made me fall in love with the small block Ford. Was that combo right there. 2,500 RPM to like 6,500 RPM. It sings this tune like, it's like hitting the high C over A, whatever you want to call it. But it just sings so hard and it pulls so great that it made me fall in love with the small block Ford.
So here's someone's asking me, Auntie's asking me, what are you using for an AFR gauge? I'm using this right here. This is just in demo mode, but it's a fast. It's Bluetooth. So and it hooks up to your car, and it's got 2 widebands on it. And this is what I call my flux capacitor because it's kind of a joke. It's just funny. And this one actually has a single. I also have one. I have one pretty much in every car, even in the Cookie Monster. I have one that's got the 2 widebands on it, so I can run it and check it as I'm driving. But yeah, so I use that because I've already dialed in my tire size, my gear ratio, and so on and so forth, and it's got lockup converter and it's got the low ratio first and second. And I mean, anyone who's been watching my videos up to date know that I've explained all that stuff before. So, but yeah, but that's what I use. And that works really good. Cause that's kind of like, it's a telltale. In fact, right now, I run that thing right around 15.1 to 15.5 going down the road, and I'm at about 45 to 47 degrees total advance at full vacuum at 75 miles an hour at that range. So that way, with that being that lean, now technically you could even run it leaner. You could probably get it to 16 to 1. I would just be worried about pinging at that point. So I'm running it at say 15.1, 15.5. And then as I'm driving around town, it's right about 14.7. It really doesn't get that lean until the RPMs get above that 2,500 RPM mark.
Michael Schmidt's saying capacitive discharge ignition. What the hell is it? Why is it good? Why is it good or bad? Is it the same thing as a transistor ignition? Is this a thing, or is this another dinosaur ignition I need? Dinosaurus part. So, okay, capacitive discharge ignition is not new. It's been around since like probably the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Originally, it used to be the Stinger ignition box. Then MSD developed it MSD, if you didn't know, stands for multiple spark discharge. So capacitive discharge ignition charges up a capacitor and then it discharges as your spark, right? MSD, the only reason that this works is because it has multiple capacitors and it discharges in a sequence of those capacitor banks. The problem is anything above 2,500 RPM and that capacitor bank can't keep up, can't charge and discharge fast enough. So what it'll do is it'll drop from multiple spark to single capacitive discharge spark, anything above 2,501 RPM on up. So it's not a new thing. It's relatively old. But here's what that does, okay? A capacitive discharge ignition works great until it doesn't. It literally just stops.
Because the capacitor's done.
Yeah, the cap fails and it won't run. And generally, you're looking at an external ignition box. Plus, you might already have a factory electronic ignition box with that box. Okay. The problem with capacitive discharge stuff is they used to claim, okay, you pick up 3 to 5 miles to the gallon using a capacitive discharge style ignition. And I remember the claims in the 80s and 90s, 5 horsepower and 3 to 5 miles to the gallon. And it's like, oh, wow. And when you put it on, you would really see the difference. But in reality, what it was is you had an improperly tuned car that was generally running rich, and that capacitive discharge ignition would fire off and would burn off some of that excess fuel.
Yeah, the multiple sparks, yeah.
Right. And so you would get a cleaner emissions tailpipe reading, and the car would appear to run better. But in reality, if you went out there and tuned your shit,
it'd run better.
It'd run just as good as the capacitive discharge ignition on there with the stock ignition. So I don't think there was a lot of gain to them, to be honest with you.
Vintage Adventure Drive says, I keep my cars right around 65, 70 for the most part. That's as fast as I'm willing to run my cars, thanks to gearing. That slant would probably not go over 70 very often. Here's the thing, though, is that I have a 276 gear in my car. I run a 26.3 diameter tire. I run the A99A. Oh, it was an A998. Some internals, and I run the A999 pump and valve body so that way I can have a lockup. But if you run the low ratio first and second, the car with this camshaft, and I'll show you how to do some tricks, it will get out of its own way. Dallas drove in it. It runs and drives. You would never know that it was a 276 gear because that's so much oomph off the line.
Yeah, it's sporty.
It's sporty, and I'm barely touching the throttle too because it's the camshaft I made. But with that being said, in lockup, it's about 25 to 2,600 at 70 miles an hour. It's about 2,700 at 75 miles an hour. And you can do that in a slant 6 very, very good. And this is still within its torque curve. Now it's on the back side of the torque curve on the parabolic. The next setup is going to be the A500 overdrive tranny, but I'm going to put a 323 gear in it. So when it locks up, it puts it right at the 22 to 2,300 RPM. Because I've seen a lot of people put in overdrives and then the mileage goes the other way because now they're lugging the engine. I don't want to lug it. I just want it at the top of the peak efficiency at the peak torque. And that's 22 to 2,300. And that's where I'm trying to get. But you can still get that slant to go 70 to 75. And I can help you out with that, and then we'll make your rocker arms last longer because the biggest thing with those is that you take the valve cover off, they're going to be burned up in there because there's not enough oil getting to those rocker arms to keep it clean. So yeah, and I got some cool stuff for you, man. So hit me up. I got some really cool stuff. Oh, John Wilburn's here, by the way. I'm going to say hi to John Wilburn.
I saw him swoop in here.
Yeah, I did see him swoop in, but I kept forgetting to say hi to him. So hi, Mr. Wilburn. He's the bringer of the No Name Nationers. So
well, Mr. Wilburn is literally like a 1980s wrestler. He'll pop in and drop an elbow from the top rope right on your forehead when you're not expecting it the most. So
he's saying that his truck gets 60 miles per gallon in the van with no vacuum advance, and that's between 60 and 65 miles an hour. Which that sounds great. And that's where I've noticed that 60 to 65, you can get really good mileage right in that range because the coefficient
70 plus is where it really falls off.
That's right, because your coefficient of drag it doesn't go exponential. At 70 is when it starts to go like this, really, and then at 80 it goes. Now in the newer cars, not so much, but these older cars, man, it's just bad.
Oh,
So
it gets
I
more
found
rhythm,
that top, that
right?
parabolic 75. That's it.
Well, they all are like, they all get to that point where you can't make enough horsepower
Yeah.
to go the next mile an hour. Right?
That's right.
So,
But some of them are better at a higher RPM, a higher speed. You know,
John's
like
van
your
is not it. I'm gonna let you know that John's van is not it.
no, or my 69 Dart, you know, with a recessed grill, it's literally like a big scoop, the whole width of the car that just grabs air and just stacks it right there.
Looks good though.
It looks good, right? Right.
Yeah, when the road speeds were all like 55 miles an hour, that was really not even a consideration. Like that's why, that's one thing that I have noticed over time during my life is that you throw an old 60s or 70s era American car on a trailer and pull it down the road, everybody will talk to you.
That's right.
They look so good just sitting still. And then you get something from 70 plus for lack of a better term, 1973 Ralph Nader bumper years and up. Okay. Let's face it. The cars that were the same car as before, right? Like say, wasn't a Duster the same car, but they put the stupid ugly 73 35 mile an hour bumpers on it and it went to totally ugly car. Same thing with Corvette, the Pontiac Firebird and Trans Ams, they went to extra ugly. But you take a car from today, they have like no personality when you look at them.
It's a 4-door with a hatchback. Every single car on the road nowadays is a 4-door with a hatchback. Literally, it's a shrunken minivan. Every single car.
That was what was good about cars from before, like I'd say probably 90 and before.
Yeah.
Right. And there still was some of them in the 80s, ugly Chevy Celebrity shitbox that was like better off in a landfill than someone's driveway.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some stuff out there that was like, man, you could tell when they were inspired, but then you could tell when it was a commuter, an uninspired commuter, right? You're like, golly, and then the sad part is I feel sorry for the sucker that bought the Chevy Celebrity and then had to make payments on that sucker.
Right. Here's a good one. Buick Smith saying my 71 Buick GS with a 350 and a 350 trans, 256 gear, gets 18 miles with the scooped hood and the rear wing. It gets 21 miles per gallon with the smooth hood and no wing. This is at 75 miles an hour. I have done the tough testing. Awesome. That's bitchy, man, because I wish I could find the 256 gear because I think that would be ideal for my car, but they only make it 276. If I could have the 256, I think I would get down another couple miles per gallon. I would probably get in that 25.
You need to be that Buick fan, Shane, because it seems like 92% of them came with 256 rear end gear.
I'm telling you, man. I wish.
Dude, that was the biggest thing for me. But like I raced my Regals for years. I think 3 years. And one day somebody talked me into actually I had some cash. Like, hey man, buy a rear end gear and a posi unit for that Regal. I bought a 342 gear and a posi unit. And I went from a 256 open to a 342 posi unit. And it was like a whole new car.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the best thing that ever happened to me. And so, but yes, of course, my gas mileage did suffer then. But the fun level was super freaking pegged.
Yeah. Yeah. If I could just, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. We've got someone here who talks about mileage. The best mileage I ever got in my Slant 6, now I'll tell you the setup. It had a 323 gear in it, and it actually had a 204R transmission in it. I drove it like that for about a year, but I'm just not a big fan of the way the 204R shifted. I didn't like anything about it. I'm just used to how a Chrysler runs, and it just didn't work well for me. I did get, I think it was 27 miles to the gallon and I had a Holley 350 two-barrel on it. And I had a camshaft that was it was a really small cam. It was like a 209, 212 on a 108 lobe separation angle, and it was still a flat tappet. This one I have now is a hydraulic. But That was probably the best setup I had, but I like this setup so much more because the fun factor is better than the 204R. I just like it. I'm actually getting closer with something I enjoy to drive. I just never got to drive that. And in fact, I think I gave that 204R to you, Dallas. I remember that.
Yeah, he did. And I got it home, and it was like you had cut the Buick ears off because they're multi-bill housing or a multi-bill pattern, right? And on the bill housing, and I had it in the back of my truck, and I literally I had called my friend to help me unload it. I mean, the 204R is freaking heavy. It's like it's like a 700 R4 or turbo 400.
Yeah.
Or maybe more. I don't know. But I went to unload that sucker, and he was like, "What is that?" I said, "Oh, that's a 204R. It's got a Chevy bell housing." I said, "Yeah, it's supposed to have a multi-bell housing on it, right?"
Yeah.
Like, well, I got that 50 Chevy with it had a 350 Chevy in it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, I don't want to, I just got this given to me. I don't want to freaking sell it.
Right.
Oh, he beat me up for like 2 weeks. So finally I was just like, all right, dude, you can come get it. But
that thing was heavy just because of the damn oil pan. That oil pan was like,
and it had a converter in it too.
Yes, man. And that converter, that was from Hughes Transmissions. I actually, the owner of that at the time had owned the drag strip. Him and his brother owned the drag strip at Tucson. This is when they were still together. Then they separated. But so the owner of that Tucson Dragway is the one who designed that converter around my setup when I was still in California. So
yeah, well, that dude put it in that 50 Chevy, but I haven't heard from him in like a year. Aunt D says 204R behind a slant 6. What did that come out of? That came out of probably any random GM with a 204R. Shane made an adapter to put behind that slant 6.
Yeah, there was I think it's called wheel cap adapters out of LA, it's somewhere in LA. And so it's literally just an adapter plate that bolts to it. And I still have the adapter. What's cool about it is that it has a flex plate that's got a gear on it. So that's now my startup stand. So literally I just bolt that to it and it's got a starter on it. And I put that all on there, and I'm going to use now I'm making another adapter plate. I'm actually making this one myself. It's an adapter plate for a slant 6 to a small block Mopar bell housing. The reason for this is because I'm going to go 500 A500. Then I actually have a 5-speed transmission over here, a T5. So it's out of a V6 with really good ratios on it. And if I can't get the mileage, then I'm going to try to see if I can roast some gears to 30 miles per gallon. So,
well, I guarantee it'll be 2 miles a gallon better than an automatic, as is. But
hey, I'm gonna grab this plate real quick because I'm gonna show Aunt D real quick what I'm making.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Blue Grit Garage says mid-70s Granadas and Monarchs with a 6-cylinder engine had 9-inch rear diffs with 247 gears.
So so this is the adapter that I've already made. So this is the first prototype. So this is a slant 6 to small block adapter that I had made. This is the engine side. This right here is the tranny side. There was a few things that I'm taking out. So like I'm getting rid of a few holes and I'm moving some stuff. So this is the first prototype. The second one's being made right now. And then I'm going to put it in that car. And I've got an 8 1/4 rear end with the 323 I'm going to put in there. And that should help me with around town mileage as well as the freeway mileage. So,
let's see. Buick Smith says that his 204R with fluid in converter weighed 162.4 pounds.
I don't know.
It's heavy.
Yeah, I think it was heavy, but I think the pan, because I got one of those Hughes deep sump pans
you had
on
an
it.
Art car. You had an Art car, didn't you? Or it might have been a Hughes deep sump.
Yeah, it was a Hughes pan, and it was one of those. It was like a 4.5-inch deep pan, but man, that pan by itself was almost 30 pounds. I'm telling you,
yeah. Okay, Hippie Long says, gentlemen, I'm in the middle of doing the rear main seal on my 64 273. What brand in RTV do I use on the half seal ends? Thank you for your knowledge and guidance.
I use the right stuff. Black right stuff.
Does a small block Dodge, like a 273, is it a deep skirted block?
No.
So it's like a small block Ford?
Small block Chevrolet, yeah, just like that too. Small block Ford,
No.
and
Okay.
it's part of the rear main cap too. So so you have to take that off, then you can sneak it around. But I'm telling you, what I use on those is I use the right stuff, the black. Use that. Make sure it's cleaned off really good, and I'm telling you right now that will seal up. And you only need to stick it out like a quarter of an inch. That's it, not much. You know, a lot of people stick it out too far. It just needs to be cocked just slightly, so that way the lip, mates just in the parting line is just beyond that. So quarter of an inch on either side, so that when you put it in there, it sits. That's all you need. What do you put on? Do you put what kind of silicone
I use
do you
the
put
right
on there?
stuff. I use the right
Oh.
stuff. I
Yeah.
got tired of fooling with all the other stuff that's like,
Yeah.
Okay, before that, I used to just like whatever RTV I had laying there. And
I'd use it.
the problem is each RTV has its own like significant purpose.
But the
right?
right stuff, it works for everything.
All of it.
All of it.
I didn't go buy it in the easy cheese can.
Yeah, I do.
I use it for like 2 years till it runs out and throw it in the trash and get another one.
Have you got the stuff? Have you got the one that comes in the like the cock gun one yet? Have you seen that one?
They have right stuff like that?
Yes, they do. They
I'm
do.
gonna
It
have to get
comes
that. Where do you get that at?
at O'Reilly's, man. It's down on the lower shelf. It's not up on the blister packs. It's down below, and it comes in a little cock gun thing. And what's good about that is that you put the cap back on it, and that thing lasts forever. It's the cheapest way to buy it.
All right, well, I'll do that then from now on.
Yeah. We're getting close, man. It's already 8:51. We got a
I
few.
know. I mean, we literally blew through tonight. Vintage Adventure Drive says Shane, make sure to have that plate commercially available. So it looks like he might, dude. You need to go up to Washington State at Jamie's place and let him bring you to have a couple of good beers because he dogged on your chocolate beer on his live way too much, and then let him unload that freaking 225 scamp on you, and you can haul that sucker back down to Kansas before the weather gets bad.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun road trip, dude. And you can do, I think you could probably do 2 or 3 different videos out of that thing.
US 191 saying, in order to back up the airfield data, you got to have a calibrated odometer. I do. When I say calibrated, I use 2 different satellites to do it. I use Google Maps, and then I have another one that I download. It's within 0.3 of a mile an hour. I would consider that pretty accurate. And I also use not only the odometer on my car, but I have another one that actually, when I do a trip, I use this one right here. It's a Cool Links. So that way I can do a trip. So this is a GPS, and it tells you current miles per gallon, miles an hour, odometer. So and then so that way it does it like this. So when I start my trip from the gas station, when I fill it up, I click on this, and then I use this mile per gallon miles that I run, and I also do it off my odometer, and they're less than a mile apart. And that's over a distance of 200 miles. So I would consider that pretty accurate because that's less than 1%. It's less than half of 1% of inaccuracy. So I would consider that pretty good.
Hippie Long saying, my seals have tabs. I have to trim them off the clock. Do you still put tabs in to fill where they should have gone? I don't know what they're talking about. Tabs. Is it a 2-piece remain seal and it sits in a U groove, Shane? I've never seen a small block Dodge.
Yeah.
Okay. So that right stuff, like he's talking about, first off, when you go to put that in, and I'm assuming that you're just building the engine, so I'm just going to explain it like that because I don't even want to get into where you're laying underneath the car trying to change the rear main seal as it's complete. But so to do this, the way I do it is I clean the block area where you're going to put your rear main seal, generally that channel, with acetone or a carb cleaner. Right.
I use mineral spirits first, and then I use the acetone. And you can buy that in bulk at Home Depot because it's cheap as hell.
As soon as you get that clean, and I would drag it through there like a Q-tip, or you could actually use a small rope soaked in acetone would probably be pretty good. And I keep dragging it through there until it comes out absolutely clean. All right. You want it absolutely no oil, no grease, no muck, nothing on there. Then I get the RTV, the right stuff. I put the RTV in there, and I let it sit up for like a little bit. Okay, because if you ever look at the back of a rear main seal, it actually has little gouges in it, little notches in it, and what that is doing is just like, paint to primer. You got to have cross hatching in it. It gives it more surface area to bite.
Yep.
And what you're doing in that RTV is you're creating your surface area because it's going to mold to the back side of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I do it is you put the RTV in there, you let it tack up a little bit. Don't go crazy because it will get hard within like say 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. And
right?
that's up fast too.
As soon as I get it in there, I let it tack for a minute or two, and then I set my seal in. I don't try to move it at all. I put the seal kind of at the angle I want it, and then I just push it down in there. The top side, I'll make it fit the bottom side, right? Or the opposite side. Yeah. But I just stick it in there. Do not move it. Let it sit there. However it went in is however it went in. If you put it in the wrong direction, like the seal is directional, if you put it in the wrong direction, take it all back out, clean it all off, start all over, okay? Mm-hmm. But you want to just press it in there. You don't want to move it around because what will happen is as soon as you press it in there, it's going to create a perfect imprint of it in that RTV. And that RTV will start to set right then, right? It's already been skinned. You let it sit for a minute or two. Then on the other side, what I do is I take the cap. I do the same thing on the cap. I then take the seal and I put the RTV on the backside of the seal and on the cap. And then I slide it in where I think it's going to be because it's going to move when you put that top down, but you want it to move. So you'll let the bottom sit up for like, I don't know, maybe good 5 to 10 minutes or, the block. And then you put a dab of RTV on each end and you put the cap on and you let the one move around in the cap.
Yeah. What I do is I put the dab of the RTV on the one that's exposed. So the one that sticks up, I'll put the dab on that one, and then I'll put the dab on the other one. So that was equal opposite. And when you put it down, and what I normally do is that when I do this and I put the bottom one that's in the block in, I will set the crank in there too. When I put the after it skins up. So like I'll put the seal in there, let it skin up. And then when it's getting close, I'll set the crank in there and then let it harden there. I'll take the crank out and then actually, sometimes I leave the crank in there too, and then I'll put the cap on there with the rear main seal with it tacked up, and then that will align it, bring it back out, put everything back together, and then clamp it down one time, and then let it sit. But we've only got a few more minutes here, bud.
Yeah. Well, then I also put RTV on the bottom of the cap, the mating surface of the cap, right, and where it seals up with the wall on the block. I always put a little, just like you don't have to do anything. It just needs to be a thin coat. But I always do that because the Buicks, I found they always leaked if you didn't do that. And so it became a practice for me. And so then when I went to stuff that didn't have a full skirted block, it was a lot easier to get the main caps in, but I just kind of carried that over, and it's good practice because, man, I tell you what, I hate replacing rear main seals, especially on something that runs good.
Yeah. Well, anyways, man, we're gonna be wrapping this thing up here, man. We've only got a few more minutes here left. Like always, I'm going to say that you go and see Mr. John Wilburn, but actually, one of our moderators, Mrs. Colleen T-Bolt, gave me this. Here it goes. So on Monday, this is what I'm going to plug. Monday, we got Dougster Wolverine Garage. Tuesdays, we have Buff and Del Campo. Also, too, there's Rob's Hot Rods and Streetcars. Thursday is Jixon Empty Nesters Destroyer, 1320 Destroyers Ranch, Eric's brother, Dan, the IT guy, and Tracy. Not in that order. Wow, that's a lot. And then also on on Fridays, we have John Wilburn on his channel, and those I'm assuming are all at 7 Central Time. And then other than that, man, I'm going to be posting a bunch of videos pretty much every day. If you enjoy Six Smokies, and then Nivlac 57s are going to be there, and a bunch of other people that come into this chat are going to be there, and then you got anything coming up, Dallas?
No, I guess I need to do some shorts on body work.
You do it. I'm telling you, man.
I should probably.
And I guess so Rob, I guess, starts at 8:30. So I guess whoever comes on after us, I think Rob starts at 8:30 tonight, I guess.
All right.
Mohawk.
Until next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mohawk 62 said he's going to be at Six Smokies too. Yeah, so we'll see you there. I'm going to be with the whole Edelbrock gang. I got a bunch of cars going that I got to take care of. But until then, remember, next week I'm not going to see you guys. Me and Dallas are not going to see you. It'll be the week after. We're going to take a week off. And other than that, you guys have a good night. And thanks for stopping in.
We're out of here.
Yep. See you later.